Hi everyone, I am Shan.
And I am Tam. This is the Real Talk Podcast.
On this podcast, we have some candid conversations between us about love, family, faith, relationships, parenting, work-life balance, and everything in between.
We invite you to not only listen, but interact with us and our guests as we have some real
talk.
Shan and Tam, welcome to another episode of Real Talk. Today, we have a bit of an interesting topic. We're talking about perception and really, how do we feel about how people perceive us? I'm so curious to know, Shan, what this discussion is going to look like, because there is so much that has gone through my head when since I thought about us talking about this. So the perception of others, how important do you think that is, Shan?
And it's interesting you say that. There's so much that we can dive into about how others perceive us, right? And it can either build us up or break us down, depending on the type of person you are, or depending on what people's perception of you may be, right? Because when you and I were talking today, and you suggested for us to talk about this, and I'm thinking to myself, this is an interesting topic, because I think people will perceive you differently based on how intimately they are with you, right? So I perceive Tam in a different way because I know Tam. I've had intimate conversations with you and I know who you are.
Right.
But someone on the outside that might not know you as intimately might perceive you differently, right? And might not have positive things to say, likewise about me, right? Because even when you said that today, I kind of thought a lot about my own past and different things with different people, some of which who are close to you, and they don't perceive you in a positive way. They see you very negatively compared to strangers or people who don't have as a close relationship to you. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I totally understand what you're saying, because when this came to me as well, I thought this is really going to be an interesting examination about various things, because guess what? How quickly do we judge somebody when we first meet them? Like, how quickly do you decide, me like that person, or my spirit,
not like them.
Or
my spirit take them, or my spirit not take them.
With spirit not take them, right?
Yes.
And we don't know anything about the individual. It may be just from the initial interaction in that space and in that time, right? Who knows if that person is bringing their full authentic self to that space, right? And I could come into a space not knowing you, grumpy, mad for whatever reason.
Having a bad
day and whatever. And my interaction with you brings that energy, and right away you decide, say, you know what, me not like the girl.
Real talk. I make a judgment based on that.
Immediately.
From that one interaction. And now think about this. You not knowing me, you being a total stranger, not knowing me, having that interaction, going off, meeting Shan, who knows me, and said to you, so I meet the girl named Tamara, and I can't take a bone in her because she was mean and angry. And you're like, is that the same person that I don't know? So I can't for me time you talk about. Exactly.
Me might be mean and angry in some situations. But real talk, right?
Yes. And that's the thing. And people perceive you based on the interaction they have of you and based on what may be going on in you at the time. Absolutely. Right? And to be quite honest, to put it out there, some people have some people bad mind. You real talk.
Well,
and them not have nothing good for say about nobody, right? So no matter how much good you are doing or how much you have put our best foot forward, some people just not gonna have nothing positive for say about nobody.
Yeah.
Right. I've encountered that in my life as well. Whereas people just want to try to tear you down just because.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you're trying to get ahead or just because you're trying to do things for yourself to advance. They won't make comments like you act like you're better than people.
Right.
Or you act like you're too goody two shoe. Or you act like you know, remember where you come from. And the list goes on. Right? And the list goes on. So again, people perceive you based on probably their own personal experiences and probably what's in them as well, their own stuff.
Right.
And it goes back to say, how much of that do we take on?
Yes, absolutely.
How much of that do we take on and own? Especially when you know in yourself, say, you not act like you're better than nobody, or you remember where you come from. How much of that do you take on when people constantly bombard you with them negative stuff about how they perceive you? Real talk.
Real talk. Yeah. And it goes back to your original point that you talked about when you said people's perception can either build you up or it tears you down, right? Now, I think that it is important, you know, some people will say, me no business what nobody want think about me, right? I don't care. I am who I am, and you either take it or leave it. Right? I do not think that should be the end all and be all attitude that we have. Why?
Yes.
I think we still need to be mindful about what people think of us, but in the context that you know that your intentions are not bad. You know what I mean? Like you're doing everything you can to be a good person. And there are times when you might not be the best version of yourself, but holistically, you are a good person. I think that it's important for us to be mindful about what we bring to spaces and people. Right?
Exactly.
Because the ultimate thing is that you are a reflection of the people that you love and that you associate with. And I am sure that you wouldn't want to go nowhere and hear say, mega carry on bad in some other space when people recognize you to be associated.
Who you are.
I need to. It has to be important to me.
And they judge your family based on that.
Exactly. It has to be important to me about how people perceive me and how I bring myself to a space for people to have a perception of me, because it ultimately impacts the people who are immediately associated with me, family, friends. Me always think about, is my kid, like, would my kids be proud of me? You know what I mean? Or
if they know that I'm acting like that.
Yeah, if I exactly, if I think about wanting to behave a certain way, what would my kids think of this?
No, I agree. And another part of that I was thinking, how others perceive you. Sometimes too, people that love us and have our best interests at hand will see things in us that we necessarily don't see. Right. And I think it's important as well, because we're all flawed, right? We all have our flaws. We as Oma said, nobody not perfect. And sometimes people on the outside will see things in us that we don't see. Right. And I can recall even a few years ago, right? I found myself, because of my family of origin and my situation with not growing up seeing a healthy relationship with my mom and dad, right? And I found myself, when I started dating or eventually got married, I got married to someone exactly like my father, right? And it's when someone who loved me and said to me, you know, Shan, I think you need to work on yourself, right? Because your brokenness in you is attracting brokenness as well. So you need to heal, right? You need to step back and you need to heal and you need to do the work. And healing is a long life journey, right? So I think sometimes too, people's perception of us, if they're coming from a genuine and a loving place, we also have to humble ourselves to hear that.
Yes, and I am glad you brought that up because that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about, the fact that, you know, while we need to be open, we need to be open to hearing from the ones that we love what it is that they see. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and that is a part of us learning and growing. And the fact of the matter is our life, like everything that grows, is dynamic, right? Like our personality, who we are, is a dynamic experience. It can change.
No, it can change. It can change, right? Because I've changed and I've grown and I've evolved. And, you know, as I said, when I had got married first, I was 21 years old. You know, now recently I got married. I'm in my 30s and I'm at a different mindset and mind frame, right? So it really, people evolve, people change and people grow. But at the end of the day, I had to be in a space where I could have heard that and did the work to work on myself. And that was someone's perception of me based on what they were seeing from the outside to say that, Shan, yeah, you know, you grew up hard, you grew up tough, and yeah, more than like the first person you saw and fell in love, whatever, it was an unhealthy relationship and you need to do the work and you need to try to grow and evolve, right? So I also think that it's important for us to step back, humble ourselves and hear, right, some of the perception of what people have of us too, especially if it's for our own good and our own benefit. Real talk.
Real talk. Yeah, and another part to that train of thought too is that sometimes people see you in a way that you don't even, see yourself. So I think about some positive aspects of, you know, what people might think of you. And so, like, people say to me all the time that, oh, you know, you're confident, you can speak, you can, pity then or no.
That you're so nervous and, you know, you struggle with different things.
Exactly, like I struggle.
And even self-esteem, real talk.
Yeah.
Like everybody struggle with them self-esteem. At times you feel like you're not good enough or you
Absolutely.
can't. Right?
So it's important for you to know, I think, what people think or what people see in you, because that can help you to grow parts of you that you might not recognize, but somebody else sees. You know what I mean? So it can be a catalyst for you to look at yourself to say, oh, this person sees me in this capacity. Maybe I can do this. Or
them see the good in you.
Yeah.
They see the good in you when you can see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And they see what you are capable of doing and what you're worth. And sometimes you need people like that to just speak life into you, because sometimes life knock you down so hard. You can't even see your worth and your value, but it takes someone else on the outside who has seen you and know your worth to say, no, Tam, you can do this. No, Tam, you know, you are this, and to give you that extra boost and that extra push.
Yes. And the reverse too, like you said in your personal example that you gave, the reverse too can be true. The fact that sometimes we really do need to be self-reflective to say, if somebody I tell us, say, what you just say and how you just say it in a sound good, you need to check yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you might think that that's a positive thing about you to say, well, I speak my mind and I'm confident in how I speak and what me I say are the truth and whatever.
The tone and the body language.
Exactly. Sometimes it's not about what you say. And the message where they deliver it, how you say it.
How you say it.
And the tone that comes with that. And your confidence might actually be you being cocky and arrogant.
Listen to me. It's funny you said that because I was talking to my counselor the other day, and real talk, there's no shame in it.
No,
I was talking to my counselor. Yeah, and I was explaining a situation to him, and him said, "How did you say it?" I'm a kind of dramatist. And I did it how I said it, and he started laughing. I was like, "No, Shanique, right? You need to watch your tone, right?" And he's a very calm man. He's like, "No, Shanique, you need to watch your tone." But in my mind, me just passionate. Me just I try to get my point across. And he's like, "No, Shanique, you need to check your tone and your body language." So I said, "I need to go do some journaling after." Because
right?
But
Real talk,
right? And it was a very humble moment for me, right? Because he was someone from the outside that don't have any invested interest in anything, right? And giving an objective opinion, right? And I said, "No, I'm not passionate. I just saw my talk." And he said, "No, right? But others may perceive it differently." Right? This is probably what you're trying to communicate, but you don't understand how the impact that may have and how others may perceive it, right? That may not have been your intent, but it was the impact that it had and how others may have perceived it.
How many times do we end up in a negative space with even our loved ones having disagreements and stuff just because of that? Like,
just because of that,
you say something when we never like. Me never like how you say it. It's not that. It's not that.
And then I say sometimes that you want to come out saying, but it just come out the way out like that, right?
Right. So I think it's something that, like, it's important. It's important for us to know how we are bringing ourselves to a space and the stuff that we say and the things that we do, and even facial expression. Like,
oh my God, my facial expression could I kill people enough time. I just like calm myself and check myself, because that's a whole part of your body language as well too.
So I'll tell you a joke. I went to when I first got promoted as a supervisor at my workplace, and this was years and years ago. The first kind of management meeting I went to, it was like a combined team of people. So there was one set of people presenting from their unit, and then my management team for my office. And this person that was presenting was presenting in a really, like, what would I say, aggressive manner.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, they're trying to get their point across.
They were having a moment.
Yeah, they were having a moment. And unbeknownst to me, I was not, like, everything that I seem to have been thinking in my head about how this person was presenting was showing on my face. Can I tell you,
sure,
when the meeting done, one of my buddies, supervisor, pulled me aside and said, you need to watch your face in these meetings. Gosh. Because she's like,
everything was showing.
Everything that this person said, I could tell which parts of it you absolutely did not like.
Oh my God. And probably you're never even aware that you were doing that.
I wasn't aware of it. I wasn't aware of it. And so, I mean, they could have walked away from that, just thinking that, who is this new?
Rude.
I know, she just come. She just come. You understand? Who is she? But it was an opportunity for me to really And I was grateful that she actually pulled me aside and said that, because I'm like, okay, now me need to watch my face. I don't need to show every emotion that I'm experiencing in the moment, and especially in that as a professional setting, you know?
And especially in that space as well, too.
Yeah, so I had to learn to develop a poker face, albeit. But
oh my gosh. Real talk.
Real talk. One of the last things I wanted to say about the whole perception thing too was that I feel that the perception that others will have of you is actually the legacy that could be established as to who you are. Now, whether that's correct or not, let us stop a minute and think about that, because going back to the first example that we talked about, if I went into a space, first interaction that I had with somebody was not a good one, and they left saying, this girl, yeah, me no have nothing to do with her, and she's nobody. Think about me not seeing that person again to have an opportunity to change their minds about who I am, and them taking that away, and now possibly leaving that, sharing that perception with other people who also don't know me. You know what I mean? How does that establish me in their minds that could possibly come in contact with somebody else that I know, somebody else.
Yes.
You know?
You're right. It's really about the legacy, and, and like, we're all growing and evolving, right? And the Tam and the Shan 5 years ago, we're totally different people now.
Totally different. Me are the first to admit that.
Yes, right? Totally different people, because sometimes some things and some ways in us, I just the grace of God. The grace of God. And we're all evolving and we're all growing. And the Shan and Tam in 5 years is going to be different than the Shan and Tam now. Absolutely. Right? So I think in terms of how others perceive us, two things that I'm getting from this whole conversation, it's about the legacy as well, as you said, Tam, that you're trying to build, right? So it's important for your public self and your private self to align.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, I love that. I love that.
It's important. You can't be one way in private and something different in public. You have to be one way right through.
And
you know what I mean?
To the core value of who you are, right?
Absolutely.
The core
value of who you are.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love that.
Right, so Shan can't say she defend prayer in a public, and when you come at Shan yard, Shan not even want to pray.
Right,
that not make no sense. You understand what I'm saying? So I think in terms of how perception, it really have to be one. It really have to merge. And another thing that I'll take from it, not everybody's perception you have to allow into your life, because some people don't have your best interest at hand. Right, and no matter how much you do to prove yourself to people and to get that validation, not everybody has your best interest at hand. So you really have to weed out the ones them that are genuine and can give you advice and hold you accountable with love.
Yeah. And I'm taking away that we need to be open to taking the things away from the people that we love, taking that away to help us to learn and to grow and to become better and different. You know what I mean? Because there's always the opportunity for us to grow.
Absolutely.
And even though we need to be confident in ourselves as to who we are, let that confidence be about characteristics and things that are good, great, and serve others well. You know what I mean? And be confident in that. Don't be confident that me can cuss you at the drop of a hat. Just
exactly. Because. Exactly.
Yeah, those are the things that should be important. So think about how others perceive you and the good things about those perceptions that actually build you up, like you said, instead of tear you down. Right?
Real talk.
Real talk. So I love this. Love this.
Yes, this is a good conversation. Yes, man. There's always something to learn, and it's interesting. And every time we talk, there's something that's always coming out. So I hope the viewers are enjoying it, and hope they'll continue to drop us comments, let us know what they think, and to share as well.
Absolutely. And we will catch you again on another episode of Real Talk. Thanks for listening, fam. Don't forget to visit Shan and Tam on all their social media websites. At Sisters Shan and Tam on Instagram, Shan Tam Lodge-Lee on Facebook, and check out their blogs at shanandtam.blogspot.com. Tune in again next time on Real Talk.